Oh, hey there. How's it going? How's your day? Hey, I'm Matt Logan. I'm speaking triumph over tragedy. This is not a polished, perfect podcast like me. Say that 5 times fast. This is not a polished, perfect podcast, but it is real. You're going to get me being real. You're going to get my guests being real. We're going to just really speak triumph over tragedies. I'm going to sit down every week with guests, and we're going to get real. We're going to get relevant. We're going to talk about their stories. We're going to talk about what they learned through those things and those stories. And I hope that you enjoy this. I hope it helps. Be a difference maker. Triumph over tragedy. Ben, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me out, Matt.
Man, it's a beautiful day.
Great day.
I got this wild idea the other day, last night, really, I decided it's going to be nice out, I'm going to have to mow the grass if we do this outside, but I needed it anyway, and here we are, a beautiful sunny Minnesota day, and, the idea today, Ben, is not to basically take off the armor, right? And just have a honest conversation, and we're both here in shorts, and we're both here hanging out, and
it's awesome.
Get to know each other a little bit better. And at the end of the day, here my idea, some of my story, and my idea for this was like, there's so many people that suffer with so many different tragedies in life. So let's take our tragedies and turn them into triumph. Right?
Yeah, that's the be a light for other people.
Yeah, amen. I'm not a big football guy. I'm not sure if you knew that.
That's okay.
So let's talk about football, though. I mean, you practice. Are you in the middle of it yet?
We're in 1 week. 1 week from Monday, August 12th. Everything gets fired up. But our kids have been doing an outstanding job this summer of being together and lifting and kind of doing the buddy thing. And it's been really good. So we're excited for that.
Nice. Captain's practice yet?
Captain's practice is kicked off this last Monday. We had them start it. And, I really don't know what they're doing. It's captain's practice.
Right, exactly.
It's their thing.
Yeah.
And I try not to take that away from them. You know, it's one of those things that as a high school kid's cool. They get to lead. They get to learn how to lead. They get to come up with their activities and things like that. So
absolutely.
It's kind of a neat deal. They got it next week too, and then we'll roll right into the season.
Yeah. We're going to talk about your leg. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do that yet. But and the reason I want to say it like that is my first memory of you. My son was obviously in football with you for 3 seasons, 2 seasons?
Yeah, 2 seasons.
2 seasons. And obviously the coach had been there for many years before, and so this is a big change for the community, a small community of Byron and things. And so there was a lot of talk. Mm-hmm. And I have an uncle that you're friends with and things like that. So I knew a little bit more background than a lot of people, and that was pretty unique to me. But so that the meeting, right? The school held a meeting in the gymnasium and things, and I remember going in there, and I'm like, well, what are we going to expect? And what I really appreciated about you, and what I remember, and help my memory with this, is that night. And at the time, I didn't know that your leg had been amputated, and you go in there and you said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to give anybody excuses. They're going to come in here. They're going to try. If they don't try, they're not going to play. We might find something for them to do. But, and you just kind of exploded this thing in this small community, and I loved it. But that's rare these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I think accountability. I had a conversation with some friends of mine. You're always honing your craft.
Yeah.
And some friends of mine put the analogy like this: everybody wants a lane to be in, and they need a little bit of constriction on that lane. Yeah. Nobody does well with no boundaries.
No, that's right.
And so we try to give our kids boundaries. We try to give our program boundaries to, I don't know if abide is the right word, but kind of to abide by, or kind of try to live their life through. Yeah. And it's bigger than football.
Yeah.
Football's probably the last thing on the list, to be honest with you. It's about how we treat people, what our attitude is on a daily basis, all those things. So, structure. we all need it because we know if we don't have it, what happens to all of us. Everybody's guilty of that. So we just try to kind of form a lane that we want kids to be in, and it's created our culture, and now going into year 4, our culture is spot on for us.
Nice.
It's not perfect. It never will be. But we really like, our staff likes where our culture is right now. And it's been really good. It's been neat to see the kids grow. This will be the first season that these guys haven't had anybody but me as a coach.
Sure. That makes sense.
So we're really seeing the first year was great. They were awesome kids.
The buy-in is what I hear.
You're getting buy-in on what, because there's always a little bit of apprehension when it comes to new. Everybody has it. I was nervous. I didn't know what we were getting. Right. I didn't know what we were getting. And my kind of personality is I'm a little bit upfront with you. I'll tell you exactly how things are. It's part of my belief system. I really believe that my beliefs hold true no matter what. We did a strengths finder thing at the primary school. Cool thing. Like if anybody gets a chance to do it. Find your strengths, because it explains and you get a deeper understanding of who you are and why you do things the way you are. And one of mine is belief. I believe that beliefs hold us accountable to what we do.
And you're not talking about like a spiritual belief. You're talking, explain that a little more.
Right,
because I've seen it firsthand.
Kind of right and wrong sometimes.
Exactly.
It's not spiritual, although there's a component to that, I think sometimes. But I think it's like, the kids have probably heard me say 100 times. I know my kids have heard me. My wife has heard me say, like, the standard's the standard. It doesn't deviate for anybody. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong in certain situations. There's always gray area, but we know it's not right to steal, so we don't steal.
Exactly. And if you didn't know if it wasn't right, then you would steal.
Right. So we're beliefs driven. Our program is built on belief that there are certain beliefs and truths that we abide by and follow. And so it's been really neat to see their growth. Because they're freshmen when you first get them, and they're like a little nervous. And the seniors are apprehensive because they know a different way. And one of our, real beliefs is love, that we love each other unconditionally, no matter who we are, what's happened to us, what our socioeconomic background is. Oh, we can do that. You should do that.
That's right.
You should do that.
Yes.
You should love your teammates and your brothers and your sisters and everybody around you unconditionally, because we all have a story to tell. And we don't know that story until we truly can take the chains off and love each other.
I was on an airplane yesterday, and I sat next to a lady, and I'm trying to figure out, I kind of caught wind of her name, and obviously I'm not going to say who it is, but she was just quite honestly, she was rude to everybody, rude to me, rude to, the flight attendants, just rude. And last night, as I was kind of unpacking that, I realized I was kind of hard on her in my mind, and I had said it to myself and to my wife, and I'm like, she's just rude, right? But then, what's her story? Shame on me. What's her story? I have no idea.
It's the thing that's been one of the things that I talk about a lot of times is like what's lost on society is being happy for other people or understanding their story. Say a guy applies for a promotion and doesn't get it. Why should he be upset? He should be happy for the person that gets it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've found that 99% of the time when someone acts that way towards you or has that general attitude, it's not about you. It's nothing you've done or anybody around them has done. They have something that's weighing heavy on them. That's something happening in their life that they maybe just need to tell. But the ability to be happy for and take people for face value, she was upset. Maybe something happened bad that day. Maybe her son didn't get a great grade and that was weighing heavy on her or whatever it was. But for sure, to be able to take people for who they are and their face value, and maybe there's something going on, and to lend a listening ear sometimes is all it takes.
And I'm the kind of person that really breaks open conversations, I feel, and try to make friends about wherever I go.
Me too.
I mean, the waiter or waitress, I try to get their name if they don't tell me, all those things. I tried to do that with her, and just right immediately was just really cold. And I literally got probably 2 words. But our initial reaction is to, I was like, what? Why are you being a bitch?
Right.
It's like, wow. But shame on me for that. I know better.
Yeah, what's the story? You don't know the story.
It's
hard sometimes.
It is. We're so... that we're programmed that way.
Yeah.
We're programmed to just shut them out, build the wall, instead of say, hey, come on in.
Vulnerability is hard.
It is. It is.
But once you learn to be vulnerable, man, life gets a lot easier.
It does.
I can attest to that.
Right?
I can attest to that. So
yeah. So college, what's your favorite college team?
Oh, Mankato State Mavs, man. That's where I went to school.
Why?
So I gotta love them, And of course, growing up in the great state of Minnesota, I'm a Gopher fan.
Yeah,
through and through. Outside of that, it kind of goes up and down. Like, it's funny. Last night I had flipping through the channels and wasn't paying much attention. On ESPN2 was the Canadian Football League.
Okay.
And I actually had to stop and watch the game.
Yeah.
Because a player I coached was starting at left tackle for the Toronto Argonauts.
Really?
So the Toronto Argonauts are one of my favorite teams as well now because Isaiah's playing for them, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm a Vikings fan, diehard Vikings fan. I'm everything Minnesota.
Yeah.
Now,
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Lake City, Minnesota, so not too far from Byron, just right on the Mississippi River there. And I can honestly say that this will strike some Viking fans as very odd, but my second favorite team in the NFL is the Packers because another player I coached is one of their assistant coaches on offense.
Oh, okay.
So I take a lot of pride that we helped him be successful in some way, shape, or fashion, maybe just a little bit, maybe a lot, but he's found success in his passion. So whenever those guys find that success and passion, that passion that they love and they're successable doing it, man, I dig into that too. Yeah. It's really cool. So,
and that comes from kind of maybe, do you call it, I don't know, do you call it your core values? Tell us, we were off camera talking about that. So one of our things that we implemented right away when we got here with the program is some core values. So we talk about the things at the core of our program that matter no matter what. Wins, losses, good times, bad times. These 4 things we really feel like drive who we are as a program. And they're love, trust, commitment, and best effort. And we feel like if you do those 4 things on a daily basis, man, you're living it. You're living a great life. You can't be wrong in it. Yeah.
And what it does is, I hope, I don't know if it does it for high school kids all the time right away, but I think as they're able to look back, as we all do. Yeah, we talked about that too, about looking back. When we're in the moment, it's hard for us to understand that we hopefully will have the opportunity to look back at that. And I tell people this all the time, like the love is our number 1 core value. Yeah. And young boys are not wired to be like that in society. No. Right? Right. It's, what do I have for a job? What kind of car do I drive? What kind of house do I live in? Those are things that define success for men. Yeah. In society. Yeah. And that's the 100% wrong message to send to young kids. Yeah. But kids don't understand that until they actually live it. They go through something hard where they actually find out that, like, when I tell you I love you, I truly love you. Yeah. But until like tragedy hits and I'm sitting in a hospital room or having a kid cry on my shoulder for something and then I'm there for him all the time when nobody maybe has been, that doesn't sink home for him. Right. It's just a word at that point. And love is actually really a verb. It's action. Yeah, it's an action verb, right? It's a decision. Yes, it's absolutely a decision. Love is a big-time decision. Yeah. It's a business card I have in my vehicle that my wife has when we went through marriage counseling or premarital counseling or whatever they call it. Yeah. We got, that was almost 15 years ago, we got business cards that said love is a decision. It sits on my visor. And it's an easy decision, right? I mean, not all the time, but it feels like it should be, right? It should be, but I think at the end of the day, it is an easy decision, but there's times where it tests you. Yeah. Yeah, you have to remember that it's not a feeling. Right. It's not. That's lust. Yes. Lust is a feeling. Yes. Love is a verb. It's an action. It's a decision that you consciously make. Yes. And I love that you are teaching them that action. Yeah. And I've seen it firsthand. Obviously, Byron's gone through a few things. Yeah. And every community does, obviously. And I've seen it firsthand, and that's incredible. Yeah, it's one of the things that we feel like makes, everybody says, how do you define success? We define success 20 years after our kids are gone. Yeah. God willing, they're still here in 20 years. Toronto and like Green all Bay these things. Like these are how you define success at the end of the day, that the people you come in contact with find something they love, that they're passionate about, and they're successful doing it. It's not defined by money. It's not defined by a house they live in or a car they drive or how big their wedding ring is or anything like that. Yeah. It's based on a feeling or an emotion that they have that defines success.
Right.
For us. They can put their head on their pillow at night saying, I'm making a difference somewhere, somehow.
Yeah.
And that's how we define that. And that might be in a year from when they graduate. It might be in 20 years from when they graduate. It was cool to watch Isaiah play last night.
Yeah.
And that was really, I felt good about that. But that's my feeling, not his.
Yes.
What was more important to me was a conversation over via text message after the game.
Yeah.
That's where I was cool. Defining the success for me as a coach. Like, selfishly, like, the exchange is basically like, hey, man, I'm proud of that you found something that you're passionate about, that you're finding success in it, that you've been through some trials and tribulations, and you're now finding success. And that conversation meant more. That depth of conversation meant way more than me just watching him play.
Yeah.
So it's that exchange that people don't see.
Yep.
That means more than him playing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And that's not just football. It's cool to hear from, it's cool to be invited to weddings and get birth announcements and all those things.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really define success for us.
Yeah. And that's being there off the field. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Relationship building.
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowing where they're from.
Yep.
Not where they lived, where they're from.
Yes.
Who they are.
Yeah.
Not who their parents are, but why they are a certain way because of what they went through or whatever. Yeah. That's the neat thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to stereotype every person because of, like you say, who their parents are or where they live or anything like that. And that's exactly the feeling I got. I was on the field with you guys for 2 years I was before that too, but I filmed for the team and loved it. And just seeing that firsthand and seeing that develop as you gain trust with the students and things as a parent was an incredible thing to see.
Yeah, and we hope it gets better and better with time too, and we hope those relationships last.
Yeah.
They weren't just, even when I see the guys today, it's like, hey, how are you? Like, and then it's never like a football conversation. It's like, what are you up to?
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you living your life to be successful? What are you finding passionate? And if we can help steer them even after we're done with them.
Yeah.
These are the things we find important.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to your leg for a minute. I here's where my head was at. You're up there and you're a tall guy. You're a good sized guy. And I'm watching your body language and, I'm hearing your words and, all this stuff is coming out and then having conversations afterward. And so I'm processing all these things, not knowing your story. And so many times like I did with the lady on the airplane, we kind of get wrapped up into, well, he can talk the talk as the coach and he's the leader and he's got to be tough and he's got to portray this attitude and do all those things. But when it comes down to being in the trenches, it's just not realistic. And he's not seen or felt the tragedies that we have, or some of those things. Where were you? What were you doing when that happened?
So basically the gist of the deal is I was actually on my way to watch a kid play basketball.
Okay.
Again, you're recruiting for football, but you're building relationships.
Right.
Because recruiting is relationship building.
Yeah.
And essentially, basically what happened, to make a real long story short, is we hit black ice going over a bridge, spun out of control, and we actually swung underneath the trailer of a semi.
Wow.
And got ran over.
Okay.
I actually thought I had really hurt the passenger because he had hit his head on the windshield and was knocked out.
Okay.
And I was conscious the whole time. I dialed 911, all of this, all while looking down and seeing my ankle point backwards.
Yeah.
Like I knew something. And I called my wife and I said, hey, been in an accident, broke my leg pretty bad, pins, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, again, long story short, it ended up being an amputation.
Sure.
After 8 unsuccessful surgeries to make things right.
Yeah.
It was basically my dad had drove out from Lake City out to Wheeling, West Virginia.
Wow.
And had said, hey, you take him off his drug medication, just wake the kid up and say, I was 28 at the time.
Sure.
Ask him what he wants to do, because my dad knew me.
Yeah.
And my first response is, let's cut it off. Like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
And the doc, this is a Friday, and the doc was like, well, I think we got an opening Monday to do this. And I said,
what are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
How about tomorrow? Yeah. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And so they moved some things around, and they saw the, I don't know if you want to call it motivation or the drive that I had to get going on this.
Yeah. Start to heal.
Yeah. And just get the healing process over with.
Yeah.
And it was Saturday, March 20th. I still remember the day, 2005. And they cut my leg off right below the knee.
Yeah.
And ever since then, that's how I've lived my life. It's what's normal. It's everyday life for me.
Yeah.
People ask all the time, what's it like? I'm like, it's like putting my shoe on. Because if I don't have it on, I can't walk.
Right,
so
right.
What does it feel like? It feels like when your foot's sore. That's what it feels like. Like it's just, it's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's like the short end of the story or whatever. But it's been quite a wild journey, to be honest with you.
I bet.
It's been, a lot of people ask you like, do you ever wish or whatever? And I'm like, actually, no, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Which is really weird to say, I think, for a lot of people.
You kind of wake up a little bit to certain things, I think.
You do. You take, it's a little bit probably cliche, but you start to appreciate some things a little bit more.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
And it happens to everybody. At what age, you don't know what tragedy or what makes it click for them. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it's really made me reevaluate what's important to me, my priorities as far as family and relationships, and money's like last on the list.
Yeah,
it changes you as a person.
Yeah.
So it's easy to live like this for me because I know at the end of the day this is what it was supposed to be.
Right.
This is how things were supposed to be.
That's part of the belief.
This is belief. These are my beliefs. This is the way things were supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, God has a plan for all of us. We just don't know what it is.
Right.
He knows what's going to happen as soon as this interview is over.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
He knows there's a plan for all of us, and we don't know it. We just have to live it.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to open the door and walk through the door.
Yeah. And recognize the doors that are shut. Sometimes, I mean, for myself, he had to shut a lot of doors really hard and fast for me to get it.
Yep.
And, I'm stubborn. But when you say tragedies, we all have them, like you said. But they're kind of, what I've really learned throughout life is they're different level of tragedy, so to speak. You can't lump them all in the same category or the same thing. There are certain people that have the stamina that you have to face something like an amputation, and there's other people that it would ruin. And I think that God knows that too.
Yeah, I think He knows. I think one of the things that I tell people too, like when bad things happen to you, I think recognizing them.
Yes.
As look, there's not a day that doesn't go by where I don't wake up or I don't have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, or I'm like, man, this is not great. This isn't the best situation.
Yeah.
But it's also the situation.
Yeah.
And to be able to tackle things for what they are and where they're at up front is what they are. Like, this is my life.
Yeah.
Does it feel right all the time? No, it's not great all the time. There's days I really emotionally struggle with it.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's playing basketball Friday morning. Yeah, I could go, but it's just, but I know I get to do other things that they can't do.
Yeah.
And so being able to
take your leg off and club somebody with if you had to,
take it off and use it as a weapon if you had to, right? Like, no, but just the whole, like, being able to see the adversity and the thing and take it and turn it into a positive, spin it.
Yeah.
You can spin everything that you want in a positive way.
And you can spin positive things in a negative way. I've seen that a lot.
We told the kids when we got here too, there's basically 3 things we feel like we can control every day.
Yeah.
Our attitude when we wake up.
Yep.
The effort we're going to give on a daily basis and whatever we're doing, and how we treat people.
Yeah.
You get to control those things.
Yeah.
There's other things you don't get to control, like how people treat you.
Exactly.
You don't get to control that.
Yep.
Or if you get a certain job or not. You don't have control of that sometimes. Somebody else is in control of that because they're making the decision, not you.
Yes.
But how you...
Best effort, but they still make the decision.
Yeah. So... we subscribe to the theory once in a while too that there's this thing called E plus R equals O. Like, there's an event and there's an outcome, and those things happen. The event happens no matter what.
Yep.
We're going to play on Friday night.
Yep.
And there's going to be an outcome.
Yep.
How we respond to that in the middle is dictates how we are as people.
Right.
So
with everyday things.
Every little thing that you go through.
Yeah.
And so, we control our controllables. We talk about that quite a bit. Like you can control, guys. You can't control how people treat you or anything like that, but you can control your response.
Yeah.
So control it.
Yeah.
And have a great attitude and effort, and you'll find that life is actually really enjoyable.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I love it every day. It's
absolutely.
a blessing to get up and be able to do things.
Yeah.
Because there's people in that that aren't in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I enjoyed, circling back to that conversation that first night in Byron that you had with the community, essentially, I mean, everyone was invited, was, to me, and learning more of your story was like, I was able to have conversations that's like, look, this guy has been in the trenches. He's not giving himself any excuses. So why would he give anybody else excuses? Right?
Right.
I mean, that's so important to me, especially going through what I've gone through, is you can use it as a crutch and excuses, and this is why this happened, and why and if, and all those things.
Yeah, the old woe is me deal.
Right. And you've never portrayed that. I've seen you dozens of times, and you've never portrayed it, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, we try to, you live what if you can live what you're saying, the message that you're giving, man, it has depth, it has value to people.
Yeah.
And so it's it's really cool. Like as a teacher, I wear slacks and a polo or a button up, a tie every Friday during football. Like and then in the spring you wear shorts one time, and the kids are like, they don't even realize but it brings again more value to you or your message essentially that like it's good. Like it's like when the kids, the communities of Byron's amazing. Like we moved in, and all of a sudden after lifting, I had like 15 football guys after lifting come to my house and move me into my house.
Sure.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I had shorts on that day. And I know almost every kid, I can still see their face, head cranked, like, is this the right guy?
Yeah.
I'm not sure any of them really knew until they saw my physical appearance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again lends to another thing, like never judge a book by its cover, because you don't know.
Yeah.
We're all capable.
Yeah.
It's just how we choose to deal with it, the choices we make.
Something that just popped into my mind, how do you react when you see people that use those things in tragedies or whatever, they're something happened, they lost their job or their dog died or this, and they just milk it, let's say. To me, it's really frustrating. Mm-hmm. With you, that you've got to see things like that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
I think you see it all that time in everyday life with everybody. And I think the biggest thing for me is just to try to have a little bit of grace. Yeah. Just try to have grace for people that say, hey, like we talked about the gal on the flight, you don't know their total story.
No. We are programmed, even myself, and I know better, we're just kind of programmed to immediately respond in building walls and saying, you are out, I'm not letting you back in, and you're a piece of garbage or whatever else that goes through your mind, and we're just programmed and we're just pounded with that every day, and it's terrible.
And I think that's
I'm guilty of that.
I'm guilty of it too every day. I mean, everybody's guilty of it. Whether they admit it or not, they're guilty of it.
Right.
But I think one of the things for me is like when you are in a position of what people might consider leadership, to break down, to be broken down, and show them that you are human and that you have those thoughts. Yeah. But then also to realize that when my kids will say like, well, I wonder why they have a, long hot day, I've been golfing all day, and I go to Walmart with the kids and we'll use the handicap spot. Yeah. Okay. Still part of me feels guilty about that because I still ambulate pretty well. Like I can still get out just fine and do things, but I'm tired and I probably am okay to park there too. Yeah. And my kids will sometimes see people get out and be like, well, I wonder why they're parking there. It's not your choice. Yes. It's not your choice to wonder that.
Yes. Yes. I like that.
It's for you to say, okay, they're there for a reason because they have the right placard or license plate or whatever. Yep. Like there's a reason that they're there, to never really judge until you know the story. And that's hard to do as human.
Yes.
It's really hard to do. And so I catch myself saying, I do it, and I've been better at not doing it as much, just from a standpoint of, like, when you're in that position, to show people that that's not how you react. And maybe it's because I've been reacted to that way.
Yeah.
I've had people, I've gotten out in pants and people like look at you, and I had some people say like, well, no, what are you doing? And I'm like, lift my pant leg up and I say, hey, just don't judge.
Yeah.
It's not your spot to judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, because that day in Byron, I had no idea. I mean, you were moving around. You know, I thought maybe you had an injury, but you move around really well.
Yeah, I get a lot of that. I get like, oh, you hurt your knee or something, and I usually just not, because I don't like to embarrass anybody either.
No, right.
I just say, yeah, knee's been a little sore lately, or whatever. Like, yeah, you just say, you don't. It's not for me to embarrass anybody or whatever. It's me just to like say, hey, they just don't know, and part of this education is just to leave them alone or whatever. Like, I'm not here to embarrass anybody or flaunt it or anything like that. It's
I like what that. It is. That's great. Yeah. I think a lot of people can learn from your example, and that's why we're here today. But
I appreciate that. I don't know if that's always true, but I do appreciate that, and we do. We try to. My family and I try to live life by helping others. So.
Yeah. We talked a little bit off camera too about, and I kind of brought it up about the stereotype and things like that. I live on some property, and we discussed how it seems to be left and right for people that have had property like this. It's either kept a certain way or kept a certain way, and we won't go into that. But what advice can you give people today living through this? And it would appear on the surface, I would stereotype you as to say, man, he's got it together, man, he's dealt with this really well, that he hasn't had any problems through it. It was just a matter of like when they kind of brought you off the drugs and cut it off, let's go, let's heal, life's good. You mentioned a few things that aren't good. Looking at you, let's get vulnerable for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at you, I wouldn't see some of the things that we discussed with or about off camera with each other. How has it been for you to deal with that? Like, what was the immediate psychological?
It was terrible. Like, be vulnerable. Like, there's a lot of days when they amputate obviously when you cut anything, it inflames. Right. So think about cutting a leg off. I mean, my leg was like literally like the size of a small watermelon.
Wow.
And so they do it. Of course, you're drugged up. You know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I woke up and looked at it, and it was just legitimately tears for days. Like, it was really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And there's a time for grieving.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think if you don't, there's something else happening that you need to really grieve about.
Yeah. Yep.
Unfortunately, this last Monday, I was at a funeral for a 16-year-old kid that passed away.
Yeah.
And you see their parents and the people around them, and they're great. They feel on the outside.
Sure.
But you have to understand that they're grieving somewhere, somehow, or they've grieved for a week and been able to be strong for other people. But it was tough. It's tough. There's still, like I said, there's days. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times sometimes it's just as simple as looking down and seeing like one really, like I'm lifting, I look in the mirror as I'm putting the weights back and I'm like, dang, that one leg's really good. What if you had two?
Yeah.
Like, how normal would your life be? And then I remind myself I wouldn't have the same wife, possibly. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't be in Byron. Like, everything happened to lead up to this.
Right. Life. And other things from here on out will lead up.
Like it's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I remind myself of that. And it's like one of the things we'll talk about with our kids sometimes too is it's called the funeral question.
Yeah.
If I died today, what would people say about me?
Yeah.
And I want them to say positive things, that I made an impact or whatever. So we try to live our life like that. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. Yeah. Do I do it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but what type of impact are we having? Life's too short to not.
Yeah.
Hey, life's too short not to enjoy things.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And people, I think, confuse that in athletics, especially. Like, my kids are doing sports, I think they're the best. I don't blame any parent for thinking their kid is the best at anything. This is what we're wired to do when we have kids.
Yeah.
But I also been in the athletic realm or whatever for long enough too to know that you have to be able to take a step back and say, this isn't who they are.
Yeah.
This is just a small blip in their life. People, if you want to hear that or not, I don't know, but athletics are a small blip in a person's life.
Yeah. But such a huge impact, lifelong impact.
Can have a huge impact on people, and that's why we have our core values, and that's why we try to say we don't judge until 20 years down the road or 15 years or did I miss a kid or whatever. It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
But I tell my kids all the time, no one cares that you ran a 5-minute and 41-second mile as a 7th grader, Paige.
Right.
But everybody cares that you can surgically repair their hand when you cut your tendon in your finger. So sports don't matter at that point.
Yes.
Yes. Do they matter? But are they real feelings to her, and do they matter to her and to us at the time? Of course they do.
Absolutely.
And I think that you have to keep that in mind too, that there are real feelings at that time. But in the big picture, to get kids to see the big picture, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard.
So what I want to circle back to is just really emphasize on what I hear from you, and face the tragedy.
Yeah.
Deal with that grief. Deal with the emotions that go with that. Don't run from it. Hide from it. How dangerous is that?
It's a bad deal.
I've seen a lot of it in my life.
I mean, depression's a real thing, obviously.
Yeah.
And it can take you in a very dark place.
Yeah.
And it was my upbringing, love my mom and dad, step parents. They're awesome. They're amazing people.
Yeah.
And it's not just them. It's my brothers, my extended family. It's Matt. It's everybody that I've been surrounded by.
Yeah.
Has really taught me that you face tragedy and you use your tragedy to help other people.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Help pick them back up.
Yeah,
if
help
they
pick
had
them
their
back up.
Tragedy or whatever.
You do that by leading by example, by living it, and by doing all those things.
Yeah.
And also being vulnerable, telling them, those are real feelings. I understand.
Yeah. But you don't have to, like I tell people, what if I lived in the moment that my daughter died? What if I lived in the moment of divorce? What if I lived in the moment of losing a business I had built for almost 20 years? What if I lived in those moments? That would be miserable. And guess what? Everybody around me would be miserable.
Yep.
Well, more miserable than they are now who are around me.
Right, yep.
But, and that's the thing that I tell people, don't live in the moment that happened. You have to understand it did happen. It's real. You lost your leg, but now you can take steps.
Yeah.
I watched you. We took a whole bunch of them.
Once you get down here, you accept what it is. You take it at face value.
Yeah.
And you appreciate the things that you have around you.
Yeah.
Because they're not always there.
No.
They're not there
Absolutely.
forever.
That's right.
They just aren't there forever.
Yep.
So we try to teach our kids, my own personal family kids, my flesh and blood, and we try to teach the kids who are around, enjoy what you have while you have it.
Yeah.
I tell the kids all the time, make sure you tell your parents you love them tonight.
Yeah.
Make sure you tell them you love them.
That's great.
Because there's always a chance that you're not going to be able to the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always that chance.
Yeah.
So to enjoy where you are, who you're around, what you have, those things they make life really enjoyable.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
The ability to just tell, simple as tell your parent you love them.
Right.
Most of our boys will tell their mom they love them, no problem.
Not their dad.
But not their dad. But you want to be able to do that. We shared off camera. I don't know if I told my dad I loved him till I was about 28, till I lost my leg.
Yeah.
Looking back, I have some regrets on that.
Yeah.
And now it's great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I have 2 boys and 2 girls in lost age. But so my 2 boys, a lot of times they'll beat me to saying I love you, mm-hmm. right? It's like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
23 and 19 years old, and a lot of times they beat me to it.
Yep.
And that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
And we need to develop more of that culture.
I don't think anybody's ever regretted telling their parent they loved them.
No.
But I'm pretty sure a lot of people have regretted not telling their parent they loved them.
Yes.
And that's what we try to subscribe to. And I tell the kids I love them all the time.
Yeah.
I do. I tell them.
I've seen it.
Guys, I love you. Even though we just lost this football game or something so simple as the play didn't execute or we threw an interception at a bad time, we love you. This does not change how we feel about you.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
what you did on an athletic court or a decision you made off the field doesn't mean we don't love you.
Right. It means we need to learn from it.
We have to learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
Of course. Because if you keep making those same mistakes, people will eventually push you away.
Yeah.
But
what was the hardest thing for you with losing the leg?
Honestly, I think it was, and this will sound like maybe odd to people, but I felt like I lost my identity.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Everything I had done up until I was 28 years old revolved around athletics.
Yeah.
And being an athlete.
Yeah.
I played college football. I played high school football, basketball, track. I coached college football, high school football.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, the one thing that I really identified with, athletics, I was terrible at. There was no longer a 4.840. It was legitimately like a 7-second 40-yard. So like those things, and being able to reevaluate what is important was difficult for me.
Yeah.
It still is. There's still days I wish, you're trying to explain something to a kid and you can't really, I can kind of demonstrate, but not totally.
Right.
So losing that identity was very difficult. Once I got over the fact that that's not what anybody cared about.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I learned at a young age, unfortunately, that people don't value what you can do on a football field.
Yeah.
Or they might. They
might in the moment.
But that doesn't matter. That ultimately that does not matter.
No.
Sports are what we do. They're not who we are.
Yes.
Who we are is how we treat people, the effort we give on a daily basis.
It's the heart you put out.
How we approach things. So I think that was the hardest for me is I had to re-identify who I was and what was important to me.
Yeah.
And that happens. I've been fired.
Yeah.
It's hard for somebody to tell you you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And we weren't, obviously.
Yeah.
But to hear somebody else say you are not good enough was difficult. So then again, you reevaluate.
Right. But you don't crawl in a hole. You reevaluate.
I reevaluate. That's why I'm here now today.
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm here at this sunny spot talking to you because of all the things that have led up to this.
Yeah.
And so that was the hardest part. I mean, there's a lot of emotional struggles too. It was tough.
Yeah.
There was a while I was in the hospital for about a week after they amputated.
Sure.
I was in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks until they decided to amputate.
Really? It was that long?
It was that long because they had the artery had died essentially.
Okay.
So they do an ultrasound to see if you're getting blood flow there. Well, it didn't. So they took a vein out of my leg to put there. They grafted a bunch of my back muscle out to put as a calf.
Sure.
They had done a bunch of stuff to try to save it. They're 28-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Athletic.
We can get him through this.
Yep.
They were really concerned about my mental well-being.
Sure.
So I got transferred to a rehabilitation unit.
Okay.
In that unit, I was there for 1 week where they teach you how to use a walker. They do some physical therapy with you. They teach you how to shower again.
Yeah.
They put a little pouch on your walker so you can put ingredients from the fridge and get to the stove to make your food.
Sure.
Because as you can imagine, I'm so swollen they can't get you in a prosthetic. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to get you shrunk down to where you need to be. Well, spring practice was happening at that time, which I couldn't partake in.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, Bridget, you got to take Ben out. We want you to take him out in public to see how he reacts.
Okay.
Why don't you take him to Walmart? Put him in the wheelchair, wheel him around, see how he kind of reacts to people and what they say or how they look at him or whatever.
Yeah.
So, blah, blah, blah. We get in the car and I'm like, go to practice. She's like, no, we're going to Walmart. I said, we ain't going to Walmart. We're going to Walmart. I want to go to football practice.
Right. That makes sense.
This is what I'm here to do. I want to be around the guys. I want to coach. I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I went to practice, and it was an amazing deal to see that not only could I love people, but they could love me back for who I was.
Yeah.
That didn't matter.
Yeah.
So we went to practice. They took me back, and they were like, how was it? And she was like, oh, we went to practice. And they were like, yep, we can dismiss him tomorrow. I think they were looking for something. They were looking for my mental reaction, where I was at mentally with things.
Were you going to sit there and be quiet and go to Walmart and go along with it and all those things, or were you going to take some initiative and say, get me out?
Get me out. And then so I was gone the next day. I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. Sorry, football people. And I think part of that is that Marietta College, where I was, they had a really good Division III baseball team, won a bunch of national championships, most in Division III history. And Don Shalley, Brian Brewer, and Mike Deegan were the coaches at that time. No one had ever been given a baseball hat, outside the organization.
Really?
I got one. I went to every game. Baseball became my thing.
Yeah.
And so I still love I'm going to Honkers game tonight. If anybody sees me, say hi. This is one of those deals. Yeah. Like, so that, I don't know, sport, I came back to sport again.
Yeah.
Like it healed me for whatever reason.
Right.
And I think you just have to find what heals you.
Yeah.
3 weeks after I'd had my leg amputated, I was on a walker in a field turkey hunting. Like,
that's good.
Getting back to doing like finding your normalcy again. Like this physical, what people,
just a new normal.
People call it like a disability. It's not I always say this, it's not a disability. It's just who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a disability. It's
different than me.
It's my ability. It's what my ability is. Right. It's not a disability. It's just what my ability is. Right. It's different than everybody's.
Yep.
So that was what really put me back to like normal, is again like just saying like I have to get back to what I'm doing. Now, fortunate at the time, a couple coaches that I had, Todd Glazier and Kurt Weezy, were awesome. Like, hey, come to practice. I know you can't be there all day because you're tired and we have rehab to do, but why don't you come sit in the office for an hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're working and I'm literally laying on a couch or sitting on a couch, like while they're working, like not doing much, but the interaction with people again, getting back to like seeing the guys, hey coach, how are you? That was cool. Like to see the guys come in, hey coach, how are you? Yeah. Not like, oh, we're so sorry this happened to you.
Right.
It was, hey coach, how are you? Good. Yeah. Hey, just that normalcy again was very healing for me. Yeah. Emotionally. Yeah, and I think it drove me to be.
I think if you're emotionally healthy, physically,
I went after it. Along. I mean, I just went after it. They were like, "Holy cow, this guy won't stop," and I didn't. Like, I wanted to push on things to get back to, what was my, quote unquote normal life. Yeah. So,
that's good.
It was good.
It's good advice. Let's wrap up with who do you predict for the Super Bowl?
Vikings.
Do you? Is that a legitimate prediction?
That's a Homer excuse, but I don't know. I got that feeling, All
right, we'll roll with it.
So yeah, we'll go with it. So that's the competitive end of my belief system, is that they're going to be the people. Just like I think Byron Bears are going to be state champs. So good. You don't go in, like when you get into athletics, you don't go in expecting to lose.
No, that's I was kind of hoping you'd kind of go down that path, asking that question, and that's really what it is. It's the attitude of winning. Yeah. And it's not winning the game, but it's just winning life.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, like every day is a blessing. And
absolutely.
We try to take advantage as much as we can. Yeah.
So Ben, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Matt, thanks for having me.